Hello everyone, this is Hong Yao Isaac again. So welcome to my new video, and today I will be talking about time scheduling and time management in the perspective of a community interpreter from Melbourne. As most of you may ever heard before that time is money. This is especially true for interpreters and translators in community settings in Melbourne. Look, as an interpreter, we are paid by the time we spend. Just like assembly workers and other jobs, whenever we are engaged, we are being paid by the length of time that we spend on a particular job or a particular assignment. So no matter it's through private clients or through interpreting and translating agencies, when an interpreter will be engaged by anyone or any client to perform a service, we are paid by the amount of time we spend. So as I probably mentioned before, a standard booking for an interpreter is approximately or usually 90 minutes. So for example, it's 9 o'clock to 10:30, 10 o'clock to 11:30. That's the standard time, okay? And whatever beyond that is the extra time. So for the first 90 minutes, for us, the appointment is booked for 90 minutes. However, if the appointment was actually only lasted for 10 minutes, or if it is lasted to the 89th minute, we got the exact same pay. And different agencies has different rates of payment. So time is really important for us. At the same time, if we were late for a certain job, usually, even if we are late, right? As long as you're not overly, late, you were booked for 90 minutes and you only arrive on the 70th minute, so that's not good. But we're usually paid for the whole time. So whatever we are locked in for, an amount of time, we are paid. So as interpreters are paid by the time we booked and the time we spent on assignments, time management is the key to our success. And it's very important, or I would say is an integral part of our everyday work experience. So now, since we are, we work by time, so let me take a step back by first telling you that how we get job. If you remember from the previous videos, interpreters get jobs from agencies. And whenever these agencies are giving out jobs to interpreters, they don't really care if you are available or if you're not available or what other jobs do you have. If you are signed up to an agency, they know you are accredited or certified as a professional interpreter. And if there's a demand for your service, they will actually just pass forward the client's needs to you. So they will send us an email or that says that, oh, okay, on this time, for example, Monday, 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. requires your service as an interpreter at the court. So the agencies, they will actually send through an email listing the time, the client's name, and the locations, and the time length of the assignment. So it is up to you as the interpreter to pick and choose and decide whether you want to accept the job or not. So it seems pretty easy, right? It's basically it's just one-way communication. You are given jobs. If you want it, you can just take it. If you don't want it, you can decline it. You can delete the email. You can ignore it. Do whatever you want. So it sounds easy. However, when it comes to every day, like really, when you go really into the industry, go into your everyday job, it could be problematic. So today, I will be going into some nitty-gritty details about how time management affects interpreters and in community settings and how I deal with this previously. Okay, so first of all, I don't think I have it with me now, but usually, right, all interpreter has a diary like this, okay, a diary. So on these diaries, usually we'll write like a diary or a calendar. We have all the dates, all the days of the week throughout the year. With this piece of diary, we need to have this diary to make sure we write down which day, what time, to what time that we are assigned to a job. So usually when you get a job request from your agency or a private client, the first intelligent things for you to do is to immediately write down this particular job, this particular time onto your diary immediately, so that when you in the later time when you're planning for the rest of your week and planning for your job, you know when you are at work, when you are not at work. So to the reason of having this is that the most important thing is you wouldn't double book yourself. So when you already agree to one of the agency that, okay, you agree to go to the hospital from 10 to 12 in the morning for a 2-hour assignment, and what if 2 days later another agencies come and speak to you and say, okay, on Monday 10 to 12 I have a assignment in the magistrate court, will you be able to go? So sometimes you might not be able to remember whether you are booked or not. And more difficult is that a lot of the jobs and assignments are coming out on the portal or as an email notice. So once you receive the email from your agency, right, you receive an email, and on the email there are two buttons. Okay, so on the email on the top it says your client's name, the location, the time, and on the bottom it has I accept this job, I'm available, or I decline this job, I'm not available. So so anyone can press on either of these two buttons, regardless of whoever sees this first, and whoever press the button first, they get the job. So this is like a competition. It's not only that whether you can schedule, is how fast you can click the buttons and get the job. So it becomes almost like a beating, right? Almost like a race against time. So when a job comes out, you and hundreds of other interpreters and colleagues, they receive the exact same email, and you may be perfectly available, but if you could not think of what time, on which day you're on a job, on an assignment, you might hesitate and think that, oh, okay, look, am I going to be available that day? And for that fraction of a second that you were thinking about whether you should click accept or not, someone might have already taken your job away. So this is the root of all this conflict, all this time matter, is that the instability of this flow of time, flow of jobs into you. The nature of how interpreters get their assignments are just basically, I would say sometimes sheer luck. When a job comes out on the portal, comes out on the email system, you may get it, or some hundreds of others might be pressing the same button as when you just did, and then the system may recognize that someone else instead of you, and this job went to someone else. So this sort of competitiveness, this sort of fraction of a second kind of environment prompt us to tend to press accept as long as we wanted to. So having a diary is very important. A diary like this, with a little book notes where you can flip through that day and immediately see whether you're available, so that once within the few seconds you realize that, okay, I'm available at this time, at this day, you click accept. So that's how you get more jobs. So having a diary is so important. Without a diary, you can never think of, okay, whether I have a job or not off the top of your head. And if you happen to accept a job at a time where you have already booked with some other agencies on another job, or your other jobs may be not finished yet, then you're in trouble, right? So this is very important. And therefore, I would say having a diary allows you to have a big picture, a broad idea of what job you have, what kind, what time is the job, which day are the jobs, and also, you can, through this, you can schedule yourself more properly so that you will not accept jobs at times that you're actually not available. And besides having a diary, right? Of course, what time and where you're going. The second thing is location. And time management is you don't, not that you should consider the amount of time you spend on a job or whether you are available on the job, you should also consider the traveling time between two jobs and two assignments. Let me give you an example, okay? I live near Melbourne City. There's a job in the hospital, okay? Maybe just say Royal Melbourne Hospital. Royal Melbourne Hospital has a job that happens in around 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. in the morning. And then after 10 a.m., then there's another job. Starts at 12 a.m., 12 p.m. in the afternoon. But this job is in Werribee. So for someone like myself who usually don't drive, I don't drive to work. I rely on public transportation, which is notorious of being late or canceled. So I need to think whether I have from 10 to 12. Supposedly there were 2 hours, but for the first hour and a half, I'm fully booked for Royal Melbourne Hospital. This job could be finished within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but it could, legitimately go all the way to the 90th minute. Therefore, I have to consider whether it's, worth the risk for me to actually accept a job that is only half an hour between each other, and I may risk being late from Melbourne CBD to Werribee. It's quite a fair bit of driving, and although they do have expressway, but the freeway may be congested. Who knows? So you have to consider beside the time, right? It's not that you can't just go back to back. It's highly unrecommended that you accept job from back to back. So you shouldn't do something like from 9 to 10:30, and then 10:30 to 12, 12 to 1:30, and even if there are jobs available, you should always allow yourself a little bit of gap time. So traveling time, always consider, unless of course the two jobs, for example, once I was taking a job from co-health, okay? One is co-health community center, another one is co-health dental office. So they are right across from each other on the same street. So I can actually accept these two jobs right next to each other, which is perfectly fine. They are right across the road. So I don't have to worry about traveling times. And usually a person will give you around 5 minutes of grace. So if you are late for 5 minutes, they don't really mind, as long as you don't go too far, okay? So traveling is very important. So when you accept jobs, right? When you look at the diary, not that you should never accept a job that is falling on the period where you already had another assignment. You should always remember, don't accept jobs that will fall too close to your previous job or the job that comes after it, which there will be inadequate travel time for you to arrive on time. So when you're late, your client, they don't care about whether you are in another job or whether you are working for the same agency. They only know that you were late. So when you're late, you seem very unprofessional, and you are sometimes causing trouble to your clients. Maybe your clients are in a rush. Maybe your client had a lot of things to go through, such as health assessment. These things really matter. So scheduling and also leaving enough gap time between jobs is just vital for your success as a community interpreter. And of course, traveling is what matters. Secondly, if you go by public transportation, you need to always factor in the fact that trains, buses, tram, they may be late all the time. So you should always leave yourself plenty of time, just in case there is a breakdown in the system, which happen really, really often in Melbourne. So, and you might think about if you do have the time, if your head is fast enough, you might even think that from job A to job B, there should be more than one way of reaching there by public transportation. You can go by train, you can go by tram, you can go by bus. So that would be great. But if you're driving, it doesn't mean you're safe, okay? You can drive. You don't rely on the schedule. However, you are bound by traffic congestions. So you have to know. You have to go on Google Maps, have a look on the road condition, go online and research between job A and job B on the road that you drive. Is it going to be congested when you're traveling? Is it a time where there's a high traffic volume, where people are heading off rushing on the rush hour to work or rush hour back from work? or lunchtime, where usually no cars on the street. So you have to consider traveling times a lot. So when you accept jobs, you don't just making sure that these two jobs doesn't clash with each other in terms of times is not enough. You have to make sure your travel time from job A to job B does not clash into each other. And never assume that you can leave early for your first job, because it might not happen. Sometimes you might even they might even ask you for an extension. So never assume that you can leave early and accept jobs that are too, no, in terms of time, that are too close to each other. So always leave enough gap between the jobs, factoring the traveling times. And also, if you're driving, please, parking in Melbourne is really difficult, especially if you're like me, who always want to look for a free parking. And so, of course, you can claim that at the end of the year as your expense, but if you know you're going to a home visit, if you go on Google Map and look into the image, and you know that it is a permit zone area, you have to think about, okay, if I'm going there, I need to look for the next available parking that is close enough in proximity to your workplace, so that from your parking spot to your location of your client, the walking distance could be different. If you Whether this place is uphill, downhill, is it a busy street, is it somewhere that is difficult to find? Sometimes I find that although I may arrive on the parking on time, but by the time that I find down the way, go through all the walking traffic to my client, I'm already late. So distance between the jobs, distance from the nearest parking to your jobs, these things you have to consider when you consider whether you should accept. Of course, it goes, you become, you get the hang of it as time goes by. But it is inevitable for any one of us to make a mistake. We may be late for a few times. We may even miss the job for a few times. But as time goes by, we slowly understand the importance of traveling times and traffic and parking, of course. So next one, I think I briefly mentioned previously, is that finding the place. In any hospitals, especially public hospitals, there are many departments, and there may be many buildings that are interconnected to each other. In, for example, the Western Hospital in Footscray, some of the buildings, right, can be only reached by certain lift. And if this a set of lift might not even bring you to a certain part of the floors and buildings, and you basically have to go back to the ground floor, switch to the second set of lift, go back up to where you were, and then you look for a way to your client. So finding the place is very important. So beside parking and traveling, always assume, unless you've been to that place for multiple times already, assume that you need to spend another few minutes to look and find the place that where your clients ask you to go. The oncologist department, the breast screening department, the radiology department. And then, these departments, they're located all over the place in the hospital, and looking for certain departments within the big hospital, especially without volunteer guy there to help you, you probably have to spend another 5 to 10 minutes. Therefore, when you are scheduling your time between two jobs, it may seem like job A and job B, there's a 1 hour gap. However, maybe the traveling took you 20 minutes. Maybe looking for a parking takes you another 15, 20 minutes. And then when you get into this humongous hospital, it might take you another 10, 15 minutes to just find that place. So always keep this in mind. Getting the place to the place on time is not enough. Finding the place does not really matters. And now we arrive at the place. We start doing the assignment. Everything goes fine, but you realize that, okay, this client's actually had quite a lot of issues to talk about. It's not just the condition that they were worrying at the first place on the onset. They've actually have other side stories that they want to talk about, and you realize that it's about that you are about to arrive at the end of your appointment. At this time, there are two factors that I would like you to always consider. First of all, first thing you have to think is, if I agree to extend my appointment, will I be late for the next job? Once again, you consider the traveling, you consider the parking, you consider how familiar are you with the next job place, and whether you can make it on time. If the answer is yes, you can make it on time, you're more than welcome to extend. Okay, so that's customer satisfaction. You're really helping your client from the beginning to the very end. You finish off the whole appointment entirely. You're happy. The professional person's happy. The non-English speaking client is happy. So everything's fine. However, if your next place is the traffic is getting heavier, that you go the next location is it's very difficult to find parkings there, and that your current client is unlikely to grant you extensions of time where they will not pay you any money when you stay beyond your scheduled time. And the obvious answer is, of course, politely refuse the request from your client and move on to your next jobs. So time management is not only about diary, not about traveling, not about this dead stuff. It's about your own EQ as well. You have to learn when to say no, how to say no to your clients who ask for excessive extensions. And of course, sometimes you have to think about the flip side of things, where you might encounter accidents. You might be driving. Maybe there's a roadblock out there. I was once, it was a train. I was going to a job to the city, but North Melbourne Station, which is like a traveling hub in the western part of Melbourne, it was closed because they thought there was a bomb there. And then train takes pretty fast, like 10, 15 minutes from my station to Melbourne's CBD. But once the hub in North Melbourne's closed, I have to go back one station and then jump on buses, which goes around, and then you have to be stopped by all the traffic lights. And that actually, prolong my traveling time for quite a lot. So when you have to always consider accident may happen. So leave yourself plenty of time. Get out of your home way early. If you have a job starts at 9 o'clock at a place where there's a lot of traffic congestion, it's very hard to find parkings, or you heard from the news that the incidents of trains and buses breaking down is getting more and more frequent, it is okay for you to get out of your house by 7 o'clock, which I've done it multiple times. And that's the only way to avoid being late and maybe not getting paid sometimes, is to leave yourself plenty of time. And remember, when you accept a job from Vic Roads testing, okay, no matter it's hazard test or especially road drive test, the driving test, license testing, these kind of jobs, although they don't pay a lot, but you have to be extra careful. Always expect yourself to arrive at least 20 minutes early, because Vic Roads, those tests, they are tightly scheduled. They have limited staff. They have to go one test after the other. If they wait for you for more than 10 minutes, that's it. You may be on your way. You may be on their doorstep, but they're canceling the test, and your job is going into the thin air. So you may be traveling. Maybe you are 90% off. You're about to reach Vic Road office, but too bad, you're not getting paid. So nature of job is very important. Never, never, ever choose Vic Road jobs that has a job immediately before it. So always leave a lot of time, and try not to choose a Vic Road job in the rush hours. For example, 9 a.m. in the morning, your car could break down, which happens to me once. The bus could be always late, which happens to me multiple times when Sunshine Vic Road office was still available. So always consider the nature of the job. Some jobs, they are more forgiving. Some jobs, like a private appointment, a doctor's appointment, they might allow you more time if you're late. But there are jobs like court. Okay, there are jobs like Vic Road, especially Vic Road car drive test. these have very, very tight schedule. This kind of client, they run on a really strict, tight schedule, and being late is a no. And the risk of you getting no pay, despite the fact that you already put on this job on your diary for weeks, is pretty high. So be very careful. Always consider the nature of jobs. And also, lastly, which I would like to tell you, is that handing back of a job. We understand. We receive jobs through telephone. We receive jobs from different agencies, and each of these agencies, they broadcast their jobs via the email, and there's only one button. You click accept or you click I decline. And sometimes you really like this client, or you really want to go to this place. You really think that this place is close to your home, and maybe you just made a mistake. You click accept. However, too bad. You didn't realize that there was actually another job that is already either within the period or is too close. The time of either these two jobs are too close to each other. Time is too close, but the location is really far. So it is possible that if you risk not looking at your diary and accept jobs without considering the traveling times, the parking times, the client's availabilities, the client's willingness to extend, you may accept a job. Then you may have to call back to your agency. Usually, I will tell them that, sorry, it was totally a mistake. I accidentally clicked on the button that I accepted this job. I'm not able to do it because I will not be available. I will be late for this job. And usually they will understand. But don't do it all the time. Don't do it every day, because they will have a record of you handing back the job all the time. So that's why always have your diary ready, always. And once you have a diary, it is not enough that you just write down the jobs and the time. Have a look at it when you're free, okay? For me, for example, every day I will just flip through my diary and look at what are the jobs that are coming up in the next couple of days or next week or so that I have a brief idea about of what may be coming on. Well, I will remember sort of on this day I had a really long court job, a half-day court job on Wednesday. So whenever there are other opportunities that comes out, I may not just go out of my greed or out of my impulse. I just click and accept the job accidentally. This is not going to be pleasant. You have to call back. You have to write back. Sometimes, like myself, I have to look for a colleague who's willing to take my spot. And these are just not worth the time and trouble. So, yeah. Thank you very much for watching this video today. I hope this video will allow you to sort of understand how important the concept of time planning, time management, and planning ahead of time and scheduling, how important are these concepts to the everyday life or everyday career of interpreters in a community setting in Australia. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You can always click a like or tell me what you'd like me to share in the futures. And you're more than welcome to share my opinion, share my video to any one of your friends if they are interested in anything in regarding to community interpreting in Australia, especially in Melbourne. So thank you very much for your watching. Take care of yourself. Be safe. Have a nice day.